And good afternoon again, Master Frank Galindo again. We're going to continue with our studies of, or at least our quick review of our patterns, our pattern histories. We've already finished our first session, Saju Jidigi, Saju Maki, Chanji, Joong-Goon, and Dosan. And a little explanation, a brief recount of the meanings and indications of those patterns and what they mean. We'll continue with green belt level. This pattern is Won-Hyo. Won-Hyo. Won-Hyo consists of 28 movements, and of course we learn Won-Hyo to move up to blue stripe. We are at green belt level. We are at 6th gup, and we're moving up to 5th gup. The numbers decrease as we go in color belt from white belt to black stripe. We start at number 10, 10th gup, or 10th grade, and we move on up to 1st gup. 1st gup is the highest rank in our color belt system, and then the numbers increase from our black belt on up. 1st dan. Dan means oh yeah, mine went blank. 1st dan, 1st dan to 9th dan. Degree, there we go. Okay, degree, 1st degree up through 9th degree. So the numbers increase in black belt, decrease in color belt, but we're all moving up toward that goal. Back to Won-Hyo. Won-Hyo is, again, 28 movements named after a noted monk, Won-Hyo, who introduced Buddhism into the masses of the Silla dynasty in 686 AD. Now, we need to understand this is what we learn, this is what we teach, and this is what we expect you to know when we ask you what your pattern means for Won-Hyo, pattern, what it represents at Won-Hyo. And this is the answer that we expect. But just to know, again, FYI, that Buddhism was already part of the Korean culture. And as the pattern diagram, pattern meaning indicates, Mr. Won introduced the Buddhism to the masses of the Silla dynasty. Silla is at the farthest southeast end of the Korean peninsula, and Koguryo was at the very north end. Baekje was in between, and but Silla was the smallest of the 3 territories before Korea was unified into Koryo or Koguryo, and so on. But the point is that the monk Won-Hyo did bring this out to the masses of the Silla dynasty. The royalty people, of course, of influence and money, power, already had, they could read, they could write. They'd already had been introduced to these trains, the schools of thought. Okay, Won-Hyo is said to have been born wise. So he is known as the only monk who actually did not travel to China to study Buddhism, but he just was so wise that he knew the implications of, the history of, the indications of, the meanings of Buddhism without even having to go study Buddhism. There's very few of us that are that wise. Okay, so that is Won-Hyo. Won-Hyo told 28 movements. Pattern diagram is a capital I. They refer to a noted monk, Won-Hyo, who introduced Buddhism into the masses of the Silla dynasty in 686 AD. As we study these pattern histories, we'll see that a lot of these dates will coincide with other historical figures in the patterns. And yes, the question begs to be asked that, well, did these people know each other? And actually, some of these people did know each other. They worked with each other, different monks, different statesmen, different scholars that followed the teachings of trying to be better, bring about better conditions for their people. They did work together. So, all right. The next one, we're going to go up to 5th gup. This is green belt, blue stripe, going up to blue belt. So we are at blue stripe at 5th gup. We are learning Yulguk. Yulguk Tol, Joong-Goon has 38 movements, and that's a good jump. Every pattern we've seen started with 19 at Chunji, moved up to 21 at Joong-Goon movements, 19 movements, 21 movements, up to 24 movements at Dosan, 28 movements at Won-Hyo, and now we're up to 38 movements at Joong-Goon. 38 movements is named after the great philosopher and scholar Yi it's spelled Y-I space capital I, but it's pronounced E like in double E. Yi, 1536 to 1584. They represent his birthplace. The 38 movements of this pattern represent Mr. Yi's birthplace on the 38th latitude, 38th parallel, which actually separates North Korea from South Korea. The pattern diagram for this pattern is a plus over a minus sign, and that is the Chinese character for scholar. But at the base of the minus sign, where it intersects with the downward stroke of the plus sign, okay, plus sign at the downward stroke of the plus sign at the end, there is a V. So we call this pattern diagram a plus over minus with a V, like in Victor, at the base. Plus over minus with the V at the base. And when we do this pattern, you'll see where the 45-degree angles come in the pattern to have that V at the base noted, okay? So pattern diagram, plus over minus with the V at the base, named after great philosopher and scholar Yi, 1536 to 1584. And the pattern diagram represents scholar. Again, there's a lot of history in these pattern meanings, historical figures that again worked with each other and kind of helped to promote again unity in that country, the beginnings of those country. Yi or Joong-Goon also worked with one of our other well-known scholars or historians or prominent figures in Korea, Twege. Okay, so they did work together at that time. They did know each other. They were contemporaries of each other at the time. So we're going to move on up to the next one at Blue Belt pattern. Blue Belt is a fourth gup going up to third gup. Blue Belt going up to red stripe. So we study pattern Joong-Goon. Joong-Goon. Joong-Goon has 32 movements. Now we see a decline in the number of movements. 19 movements, 21 movements, 24 movements, 28 movements, 38 movements, and then we drop down to 32 movements in Joong-Goon. This pattern is named for the Korean patriot An Joong-Goon. Who 1879 is when he was born, and he was actually died. He was executed in 1910. The 32 movements represent Mr. An's age when he was executed in 1910 by the Japanese, Japanese government military, which were occupying Korea at that time in 1910. Kind of sad for him. He was a prominent figure in the Korean history at the turn of last century. Again, Korea and Japan have always been at odds, but there was occupation in Korea at the time, and the study of martial arts was actually very highly disregarded by the Japanese. They did not want the Korean people to study their martial art. So of course, people being people, the art was studied clandestinely, and the art did flourish and the art did continue, and people were still able to study their martial art. It may not have been Taekwondo as we know it today. There's many martial arts of the time. Subak, and that's the one that comes to mind right off. Subak, Judo, it's a Korean Judo. Hwarang, which came from the Hwarang warriors, and so on. These were different arts that were brought together to be passed on, not only for exercise, but also for self-defense. So these are the next three patterns. Won-Hyo at 28 movements, Joong-Goon at 38 movements, and then Joong-Goon at 32 movements. So I hope again this helps somewhat. Would not hurt to pull your study sheets out and review the study sheet as I go through these pattern histories, so that you can kind of follow along and see where we are with these patterns. I appreciate y'all watching. Again, I'm going to stop this session at this point, and I will continue with the next session with red stripe, red belt, and black stripe, the advanced patterns for our training. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you're here. Please send me a notice on band. I haven't had very many people. I've had a few folks send a little, either a video or a comment. Just let us know you're out there. If there's anything that you want to just say hello, just call to say, or just stopping in to say hello. Wish everybody well. It's be good to hear from everybody. Thank y'all for still being part of Concho Valley Martial Arts Center, and we will talk to you soon and hope to see you sooner. Take care.